What's up, duelists? Inside all of you there are two wolves. One of those wolves is a dark monster and one of them is a light monster, and you will be banishing both of them for today's video. I have a brand new Chaos Stun deck that completely smokescreens into a fairy deck. It can also smokescreen into a Chaos Fairy deck, depending on how you sideboard, which is pretty cool. I feel like smokescreening strategies are a bit underexplored in Edison, mostly because people are a little bit scared to give up their side deck. There are only a few decks that can win post-board games without side decking versus stuff like frogs. So I'm not really sure if this is optimal or ideal, but I've played a few matches with it and it seems pretty fun. So I'm going to show you guys those matches, and I'm going to show you guys the concept behind the deck and how I came up with it, and that's going to be that. If you guys like this type of thing, make sure and subscribe. I know you watch more than just this video. If you watch Edison format content, you watch more of my videos. Let's be real. So give your boy a little subscription. All right, let's get into the match. We got Soul of Cinder 1 is the first match. I lose the rock paper scissors, which is always tough. No, this isn't the first match. This is the first match versus Cobra. My bad, guys. I lose the rock, paper, scissors, which is always tough. A little bit of a rewind, but starts off the same way. And you'll notice something a little bit of a mistake, a little bit of an error on my part here. I have no extra deck. So I loaded the deck, but I forgot to hit save. So I have no extra deck, and I have no side deck. And this was before I had built the smokescreen side. I was just like, oh, I guess I'm just playing this game with an extreme handicap. I've got no extra deck and no side deck. Can I still win? Kind of a fun little challenge. Opponent goes for Rhoda. He grabs the Armageddon Knight. He activates Convert Contact, kind of confirming he is playing that Carpath, Neospatian, Dark Creator nonsense that's been going around lately. So I'm like, alright, so can I beat one of Carpath's decks without sideboarding or extra decks? Probably. Let's be real. But yeah, anyway, I open up with Trap Dust Shoot, which is really strong. I've also got, some other good cards here, so I'm like, oh, that's probably a Raikou, because I do know the deck list. It does help to know what everyone else is playing. Keep up to date. I'm going to go ahead and summon the Warrior Lady. If it gets bottomless, I got D-Alk. If I run into Raikou, I can banish both, turn on my D-Alk, and then I can just set my Dust Shoot, set my Prison. Now, I just set the Dust Shoot and pass, because I know he's going to flip that Raikou. I know he's going to target the Dust Shoot, and I know I'm going to be able to chain it. I'm in this guy's head. I remind him to return the cards because I'm going to return something to the deck before milling. I decided to take another Raikou here. I'm going to play around most of this other shit. So, it's whatevs, He mills 3 now. He goes for Allure. He banishes Armageddon before shuffling his hand, so it confirms that one of the 2 cards he drew was another Armageddon Knight. He sends Cross-Border. He adds to his hand Neospatian Dark Panther. So pretty much here, the only reason you would ever add Dark Panther is, I don't know. I feel like you should just always add Granmole. Anyway, he attacks me for 200. I drop Trag. Play around Gorse, play into Trag. Always happens. Normal Alchemist. Activate the effect. Switch my monster. Run over both his monsters. His Gorse is kind of dead because he has a back row, so we're chilling. Pass the turn. He top decks Chaos Sorcerer, of course. So me not setting Deep Prison. Getting a little punished here. But if I had set the Deep Prison, there's a good chance he might have just banished one of my guys. So it's all good. I guess I should have summoned Thunder King. That's what I should have done, but I wasn't ready for it. So Heavy Storm, he chains Compulsory. Honestly, kind of happy about that because it means my Alchemist isn't getting banished. Otherwise I would have just been forced to attack his set monster and then let my Alchemist get banished. As it stands, I can summon Thunder King, run over his set monster, and set 2 and pass. He might attack my Thunder King. He won't. Sag. But at least we got that trade in. And now there's a Thunder King and a DD Warrior Lady banished for our Alchemist, so not too upset about that. Finding Doom Caliber is not bad. I don't attack his set because I know it's Plague. So if I attack his set and it's Plague, he'll stack for Plague and he'll kill my Doom Cal, which I don't want him to do. What I want him to do is actually flip this and synchro and then attack, and then I'll deprison it. But he just goes for the Typhoon and the attack, which is probably a little bit better of a play. He passes. We drop Mirror Force. I decide now, okay, I'll trade with a card in your hand and a set Plague. So, little 2 for 1. He draws Junk Synchron. We draw another Doom Cal. Great card. I love this card. Every game I draw this card, I'm impressed by it. It's one of my favorite cards. Well, almost every game. We'll get into that later. Attack for 18. Proc the Gores. I have Mirror Force. I'm not worried about it. If he attacks over the Alchemist, then I can get my guy back. Once again, I didn't want to summon the Doom Caliber because if I attack, he just takes the 19, then he stacks for Plague to kill the Doom Cal. He can trade his worst card for the Doom Cal. Although it does Phoenix Wing him, so I'm not really sure if that's the worst. We take 5. We add back Thunder King. Thunder King's pretty good here. It just runs over the token. And if he goes for the Gore's swing, then we can Mirror Force. He attacks. We Mirror Force. And he concedes. So, game 1 went easily enough. Game 2, though, this is where things get challenging because I have no side deck. And I also have no extra deck. But my deck has some good cards in it, so he starts off with Search Aqua Dolphin. That's a pretty good card in this matchup. He Foolishes Plague. He tries to activate Convert Contact, but I remind him that this card is actually terrible because it says you have to control no monsters. So, yeah, this is one of the worst cards, I think, at, like, engine setting up just because of how awkward it is with the initial part of it. It is strong when you draw it before, but obviously, yes. It doesn't work super well with the Armageddon. He sets a card and passes. I draw a Chaos Sorcerer. I decide to lead on Breaker to pop. I attack over Armageddon Knight. I'm kind of just coasting. I got my +1. He sets one and then Typhoons. Kind of a mis-sequencing. What if I had Typhoon or Dust set here? Usually you want to blind Typhoon first, but he did this to play around Dust Shoot. I think it's more likely I have Dust Tornado or Space Typhoon than I have Dust Shoot, but could be worse. Convert Contact. Now, being able to resolve that. Set Monster pass. Attack the set monster. He pops my back row. Whatever. Space Typhoon, summon Thunder King to play around Dark Creator or Chaos Sorcerer off the top, or around a synchro he can make with Plague or Junk Synchron. He activates Armageddon Knight. He stacks for Plague. He can't search because of the Thunder King. He synchros. We negate. He passes. We attack for 16. He doesn't have Gores. We normal second Breaker, play around Bottomless Torrential. He summons Junk Synchron, but I don't mind this because this puts a dark in my grave no matter what. He's going to gain 600 though. We're going to draw for turn. We find Doom Cal, which is like best possible. Just banish. Normal Doom Cal, hit for 35. Pass the turn. He's draw locked. Or he was draw locked at something. And yeah, that's all it takes. A little bit of breaker, a little bit of pressure. Okay, second match. So that was like a warm-up. Can the deck win game 1? And the answer is yes. And we move on to second match, which is going to be the hardest match. Or so I thought. This is the true boss. Because you know what? When you cut your sideboard entirely for a smokescreen, naturally the biggest concern is, how the heck do I deal with frogs? And this match is a technical display of how to play against frogs without a sideboard. One moment. I got to cough. I'm going to mute my mic real quick. All right, I'm back. This is a textbook example of how to play against frogs. So we start off going second. He sets a card. I've got no other play. I'm just going to Doom Cal attack. Revealing Dupe Frog. So, at this moment in time, pretty happy I have Doom Caliber here. People are always like, Doom Caliber's bad versus frogs. Doom Caliber's bad versus frogs. But it's not. It's actually not. As long as your opponent doesn't start with Treeborn Frog in their hand, Doom Caliber Knight's not that bad. If you go first. If you go second, well, it's much worse, but at least can help you go for game shots through Battle Fader, Gores, and Trag. So it could be a lot worse. It's just a way to force damage, basically. So I'm like, okay, this game, I'm not winning this game with damage. He's got Dupe Frog set. I've got nothing going on. Unless he clears his own Dupe Frog, I don't have enough threats to win this game through damage. So my game plan this game is to hope he fucks up enough. Like, immediately at this point, my game plan is hope he makes enough micro errors that he runs out of cards in deck. I know that sounds crazy. That I'm thinking about it already, but these are the things you got to think about. Because, hear me out. Look at my deck. Just look at my deck comp. We got 3 DD Warrior Ladies. We got 3 D Prisons, 2 Bottomless. So that's 8 banishes, right? We got a Caius. We got a Chaos Sorcerer. That's 10 banishes. We got a couple of Honest, which can at least clear things. We got maybe, a Mirror Force Torrential. We can trade with some stuff. If we're lucky, like, we don't ever have to attack him. So we can immediately shut off Gore's Trag as potential threats. So as long as we can trade some of our banishes with some of his monarchs, possibly we win via completely running him out of win conditions. So that's my game plan. It's not a good one because it requires him to misplay a lot, but as of right now, it's the best I got. So I attack into the Dupe Frog, I set 2 cards, and then I dash shoot him. And then we see his hand. And as you can see, his hand is very good. It's very, very good. And it's got a lot of, I don't know how to say it, cards I'm surprised he didn't play last turn, basically. I'm surprised he didn't go for like some sort of substitute thing. He must have just drawn 1 for 1. I wasn't really paying attention. Anyway, here I'm seeing this. I'm like, okay, there's the Typhoon, which would normally trade with a banish, but we have a Dust Tornado to trade with the Typhoon if he sets it. So that's mistake number 1 he has to make. He has to set his Typhoon. So we go ahead and we take the Substitute, because I don't want him to go summon Substitute, activate, just kill the Doomcow. I think that's like not where I want to be. I want him to at least 2 for 1 himself into the Doomcow somehow. I either want him to 1 for 1, or I want him to sack for Caius or Dark Dust. I want one of the power cards gone for my Doomcow. That's what I want. So I'm going to take the Substitute here. He's going to shuffle. He's going to set the Typhoon. So that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is setting the Typhoon, because we're going to be able to Dust Tornado it. It's going to give us value out of a card we normally wouldn't have gotten value out of. I draw a Heavy Storm, so a couple of dead cards, but you'll notice my deck comp is very bad versus Frogs because I've got Dust Tornado, I've got Heavy Storm and Typhoon, so I've got 3 Spell and Trap removal. I've also got Triple Breaker, which don't really do it versus Frogs, I'm going to be honest. So I just set the D Prison, and I'm thinking, okay, he can't sack for Caius right now. He doesn't have Typhoon. Maybe that's fine. He draws a Lure, and he actually goes for it. So this fits my game plan in 2 different ways. The first way is he has to banish Caius the Shadow Monarch. So that's one of his threats in his deck banished. The second is it actually puts him lower in cards in deck than me. So deck out plan is now activated. I'm now in the in the spot where I'm going to deck him out. Now naturally against Frogs, it's much easier to deck them out because when they go for the Substitute loop, they go like 10 cards less in deck. So they drop down to like 20 cards in deck. It's much easier to deck them out at that point. But obviously they have to make a couple of critical sequencing errors. He has Trap Dust Shoot. He has Treeborn Frog. Treeborn Frog is pretty good versus Doomcow. He's going to set the Treeborn, set the Dust Shoot, and pass. We're going to draw another Doomcow. He's going to Dust Shoot me. And he's going to take the Chaos Sorcerer. Now, Chaos Sorcerer isn't live, but he obviously doesn't care about the second Doomcow because this is either a set 2000 Defender or a set Treeborn Frog, and both those things invalidate both Doom Calibers. So, it's in my best interest here to not attack. It is very, very silly to attack. So I'm just gonna pass. He's gonna draw a trap card. He's gonna set it. He's gonna pass. We're gonna draw a Breaker, and I'm like, am I really gonna get value out of Dust Tornado and Breaker versus Frogs? I guess I am. Here, he finds Swap Frog. He trades the Swap Frog with the Doomcow. I'm pretty happy that this is eating a real card, at the very least. So, that's it. Now, one thing he should have done, which a lot of Frog players don't know, is that if you return, I believe if you return Swap Frog to hand as cost, it doesn't destroy the Swap Frog because it's no longer in the place that it... There's a ruling here. I know there's a ruling here where if you Normal Swap Frog, you don't effect to send. You use the effect to bounce, and then you return the Swap Frog as cost. I don't think the Doom Caliber destroys it. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, though. I think Roundup told me something like this. It's one of those stupid Yu-Gi-Oh things, basically. So, slight misplay number 2. This is probably just something my opponent doesn't know his deck. I honestly wouldn't have known this ruling. I would have made the same mistake. Because you don't think about this ruling, even when it does come up. Unless you play this deck religiously, like Roundup. So, yeah, I am able to get the Swap Frog there. I am able to clear it. And now I am able to go for that Breaker Pop. But I don't want to. Because I'd rather just summon my second Doom Caliber and get value out of this guy. Because if I summon Breaker here, and he sacks for like Caius or something, then all of a sudden I'm like kind of getting owned. Because he can hit my back row, which I don't want him to be able to do, basically. So I'm going to summon Doom Caliber and just restart the same position. He's going to have to play into this Doom Caliber somehow. He's going to have to activate it somehow, proc it somehow. Because he set this back row, he can't get rid of it for free with Treeborn Frog. And because he doesn't know the Swap Frog ruling, he can't get rid of it for free with the Swap Frog. So basically, I'm just restarting the position, if that makes sense, by going for the Doom Cal. Here, he goes for enemy controller. So that's one enemy controller gone. That's technically a threat. That's technically something that can deal me damage. It's going to deal me some damage. It's going to deal me 1900. I could deprison here, but I'm like, if he sacks for Caius, that means he had to have top deck Caius last turn. I'm not sure if it's like the best situation for me to deprison my own Doom Cal, because most likely what's going to happen here is he's going to tribute set for Dark Dust, or he's going to normal summon Substitute or activate the 1-for-1 that I know about. He's going to go main phase 2 tribute set Dark Dust, which is shocking me that he's not going for this 1-for-1, but it's possible he just didn't want to discard one of his 2 threats. I know it's the Dark Dust because he hasn't been shuffling his hand, so that's like technical misplay number 3, more or less. We do have deprison to deal with that guy. I am just going to go with pass, because he can't really flip his Dark Dust to pressure me, and anything else he summons to pressure me, I can deprison. Either that or he has to sack his Dupe Frog or his Dark Dust. So he's going to go for the Junk Synchron, bring back Swap, bounce the Junk Synchron, and pass. That's pretty good, but once again, I'm basically in a situation where I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I summon Breaker, I pop this, and then I pass. I can't attack the Swap Frog because I have to attack Dupe Frog, so I can't attack. He brings back the Treeborn Frog. He goes ahead and bounces the Swap Frog. He uses it as a discard for 1-for-1. So he gets a solid +1 there. He gets the Swap Frog back. But if you think about it, he should have had that Swap Frog all along, because he should have been able to... He should have just bounced it and deleted the Doom Caliber Knight for free. So, yeah, he activates 1-for-1. He gets Substitute. And now he decides to go for his big froggy play. But again, this is fine, because I never really planned on attacking him this game anyway, more or less. The only ways I've planned on attacking him is to destroy monsters by battle, in order to keep threats off my back, basically. I just set a second deprison, because this way, even if he has Caius, I can clear it, I can banish it. He draws, passes, I draw Sangan or some shit, I set it, I pass. He draws Rhoda, which is going to get him another Junk Synchron. He could Black Rose me here, which actually wouldn't be a bad play, but he would have to delete both his Dupe Frogs to do it. I draw Caius, which is actually really strong, because it's going to allow me to clear his board, more or less. So I'm going to sack for Caius, target the Dupe Frog, and the reason I don't sack the Sangan is because there's really no reason. It's the same. It's the same outcome, basically. I'm going to flip the Sangan, book the Dupe Frog, attack the Dark Dust. That's going to pop my monsters. I'm going to get my search. I'm going to grab DD Warrior Lady. I'm going to pass. And the only reason I'm doing this is just to get the DD Warrior Lady, or the Dark Dust Spirit out of play, so I'm not forced to deprison it, basically. Here he brings back Treeborn. He sacks for Caius. He targets one deprison. He attacks into the second one. That's 2 Caiuses gone. So I've now ran him out of 2 Caiuses, basically. And as you can see, he's at 17 cards in deck. So we're kind of chilling. You know, basically just chilling and vibing. What his game plan should be into this back row is literally just spam Junk Synchron Swap Frog until I have 0 cards, more or less. He can just poke me with Swap Frogs and then save Caius when I have a high value target. But he gets really aggressive with his Caius, and it's going to punish him here. Frog players at this point, what you should do is realize that there's no way you can really lose the game because you have Fade or Trag. And so what you should do is not punt all of your threats away. So this is misplay number 3. Not using Junk Synchron again here. Junk Synchron is the safest card here. It just gets you a free +1, guaranteed into 2 back row. Whereas Caius doesn't necessarily get you that free +1. I mean, like, you risk hitting a bottomless, you risk getting solemn, you risk a bunch of stuff. Torrential even is very bad for you here because you just get 2 for 1. So, what was I saying? Yeah, going for Caius here is definitely a misplay. So we were able to banish the Caius, which is great for us. We draw a lure, we have no targets, so it's like, all right, let's just banish his Dewfrog, and that way we can at least attack him in the future to run over his Monarchs. He can't Monarch us if we have nothing in play. He draws, he finds Substitoad, and he does actually have a 3rd Dewfrog, but that's 1 less card in deck, so I'm kind of okay with that, honestly. I draw Mirror Force, which is pretty good, because it means we can have 2 things in play. I can, like, summon Alchemist, set Mirror Force or some shit like that. But I decided to set the Heavy Storm as well to maybe try and magnet a Monarch hit. Because if I can trade this Heavy Storm with a Monarch hit, then I'm actually crushing. And he targeted the center back row last time, so he might target the center back row again this time. He brings back Swap Treeborn. He goes Caius. He does target the Thunder King. Unfortunately, my dumbass didn't realize that that's the obvious play. It's just target the monster. So now I have this set Heavy Storm, which is a liability in case he finds Ryza. He attacks. I Mirror Force. Main phase 2. He passes. We draw a Bottomless. I'm going to summon Dialk. I'm going to set the Bottomless and pass. He's going to bring out the Treeborn. The reason I summon the Dialk is so he can't go Junk Synchron and poke me. He sacks for Morbius. He targets both, but then we chain Bottomless. Bottomless is going to remove the Morbius. We're going to draw Gores, which is just an insurance policy to make sure we can't die. So now at this point, if we're looking at his deck, all 3 of his Caiuses are gone. He maybe has a Ryza or 2, probably 3 Ryzes, maybe a Thestalos, a Brain Control, and maybe 2 enemy controllers. Maybe a Soul Exchange. So he has maybe, what was that? 2, let's say 2 to 3 Ryzes. Let's just say 3 Ryzes. 3 Ryzes, enemy controller, Brain Control. So that's 6 threats. And then maybe a Thestalos. Or like a Light and Darkness Dragon or something like that. Maybe. If he has Light and Darkness Dragon, I just lose no matter what. But in theory, he might not have it because he has Mobius. And you have to make space for Mobius somehow. And usually what people cut for it is the 2 tribute monsters like Light and Darkness Dragon. So the way I see this game going is... I lost it. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I pass. He draws Gores. He normal summons Junk Synchron. This is fine. Even if he makes Catastor, I can add back Warrior Lady, so I'm kind of chilling. He Synchros. He makes Android. He attacks. I'm just going to use my Honest while I can. That's 1 of the Junk Synchrons gone. So, I think a little bit of a play error on his part. He could have just kept using the Swap Frog to bounce the Junk Synchron. We'll just count that as a total misplay for the whole game, though. Just not recognizing that that's a way you can go infinite on card advantage. Anyway, we draw Compulsory. Another thing he doesn't realize is, which we'll get into in a second, is that he can actually tribute summon these guys. And they're actually not bad. He goes for Ryza, and he targets the back row. It's weird that he would switch it up at this point. I feel like switching it up and not targeting the monster is a little bit strange. It's a little bit strange, but that's the play he makes. So we're able to chain Compulsory and target the Dewfrog, returning it to his hand. He attacks the Dimensional Alchemist, so I think that's misplay number 4. Dimensional Alchemist is going to add back DD Warrior Lady. We decide not to drop Gores. Why did I not drop Gores? Why didn't I? Oh, I couldn't because he attacked over the Alchemist. That's right. I thought he spun the Alchemist. I don't know what I was thinking about, but yes. I couldn't because he attacked the Alchemist, not directly. I'm going to summon the Warrior Lady. I'm going to banish the Ryza, or try to. And this gets another enemy controller out of him. So that's 2 enemy controllers down. He still has Brain Control, maybe another enemy controller, but at least that's like 1 Ryza gone, 2 enemy, and an enemy controller gone for like a Dialk and a DD Warrior Lady and a Compulsory. So that's not bad. That's not bad. Trading those 3 threats for those 3 threats is not that bad. I'm going to set Bottomless. I'm going to pass. He's going to upstart, give me a few more life points. Really crucial because I need this Gores to stick around to get us out of this situation. He commits even further into a potential Torrential by summoning the Junk Synchron. But he finally decides to go for the big Swap Frog return Ryza play, which is pretty strong. He makes ally, but I have bottomless. He passes a turn, we draw Sorcerer. And now I actually have like somewhat of a game plan because I can banish his Treeborns. I'm going to go ahead and switch my DD Warrior Lady and do exactly that. Banish the Treeborn. He draws Brain Control. He just normals dupe. He doesn't attack into Gores or anything. I have another Warrior Lady here. I figured I might as well just trade it with the Dupe Frog so I can attack in the future with my Gores. I think that might not be the best trade. Actually, yeah, I decided not to do it. So I decided not to banish the Dupe Frog. There, he doesn't drop the Trag, and I think that that's like a crucial play error on his part. Because if he drops the Trag, there's no way I ever win. But Trag doesn't need to be from a direct attack. So that's misplay number 7 or 8 or 12. I lost count. Honestly, I lost count. Ryza's going to target the DD Warrior Lady. He's going to attack into Gores. I'm going to be able to drop Gores. If he had a Trag in play here, he'd be able to pitch his own Gores to steal mine, and I'd probably lose. But he doesn't have a Trag in play, so that's that. And I think at this point my opponent's getting a little tilted because he just not able to close out the game because frogs don't close out the game very well unless you know how to play control mirrors. Apparently. I'm going to summon DD Warrior Lady here. I'm going to banish the Dupe Frog. I'm going to run over the Ryza. Once again, the Trag is not seeing play. I'm going to run over the Substitoad. I think he thinks it must be from a direct attack, but it's from any battle damage. You can drop this on any attack. Attack over the Substitoad. Brain Control is going to take my Gores. Gores is going to attack the token. He's going to set a back row and pass. Happily for me, he's left the Treeborn in play. I've got the Chaos Sorcerer. Banishes second Treeborn. He activates Scapegoat. I don't even mind at this point. He scapegoats. Summons tokens. He draws Dark Armed. Specials Dark Armed because he has 3 Darks in grave. But we have Torrential. So at this point, he can't really make plays. And he has 5 cards in deck. So as long as he doesn't Ryza me literally next turn, I win this game. I've ran him out of cards. Somehow. Miraculously. I go ahead and alert. Banish the Breaker. I do need to find a second monster to set next turn. But for now, we'll just set the one. At this point, I'm just typing stuff in the chat that he might still have. Heavy Storm, Brain Control, Econ, Ryza, maybe Gores, Fader, Trag. Looks like he was playing the full 3 Fader. He Gold Sarks for a Ryza. That means he's probably playing at least another Gold Sark, maybe 2 more Upstarts, something like that. Who knows? I draw Road. Not a great draw. I draw Warrior Lady. That is a good draw. I set it. I pass. He adds the Ryza. This whole time, he's not setting his Battle Faders. I think that's probably a mistake. He should have been setting them, trying to set up for this Ryza. But once again, what can you do? He concedes. So what he could have done there was set his Battle Fader and then pivot into Ryza. He could have done a bunch of different stuff, but he misplayed enough for me to win. And at this point, I'm thinking about this deck, and I'm like, most Frog opponents won't make that many mistakes in one game. Most Frog opponents. But, you know, this is Dueling Book. So you log in, and the person who's playing against it hasn't spent $115 on their playset of Substitoad, so they don't really know how the deck works. Obviously, when you play against Frog players in real life or in paper, they're going to know how the deck works because you're not going to spend $115 on a deck before you know how it works, basically. So I'm thinking, yeah, this is basically a 0-100 Frog matchup. Like, Frog should win the matchup every single time game 1. Like, there's no way this deck is winning game 1. So what I need to do is I need to sideboard in all my fairy stuff and see if that works. And honestly, fairies is pretty, like, without your sideboard cards, it's pretty weak to Frogs too. But you can at least cheese them with Christia. So it's not 0-100. It's like, I want to say like 35, 65, something like that. And in my opening hand, I have Christia, so I'm like, all right. And I know he'll probably play into it, right? He sacks for Jinzo. I thought he would sack for a Monarch, but alas, here we are, sacks for Jinzo. It's fine because we do have Trigodia, which is, let's be real, he's that guy. He's that dude. We draw Dialk, and yeah, just run over the Jinzo. Don't complicate things. Set monster, pass the turn. He's going to bring out Treeborn Frog. It's fine. He Brain Controls. I Chain Dust Shoot. This is how you get him. This is how you get him. Take one of the Caius. We have Herald for the other Caius. We can figure it out from there. But yeah. Now he's just got Mobius, Burial, Trag, which none of these cards do anything versus Christia. I draw compulsory. I'm just going to set. If he goes for another monarch, I'm pretty safe. He sacks for Morbius. I'm going to chain compulsory. I'm just going to double sack for Christia since I have 4. And yeah, we're going to crush. There's going to be nothing he can do. He definitely didn't side preparing for this. He saw most of my deck game 1. He doesn't think I have Christia game 2. So yeah, it's going to be a couple of Christie attacks and then a sack for Caius to burn itself. So that's sometimes how you win versus frogs. You just get like a lucky Christia, lucky Herald, and you're able to just clutch on them. So feeling pretty confident after this match, maybe too confident. Maybe I'm feeling on top of the world because I decked out a frog player. Alas, there's not much to take from that game other than a couple of different ruling things, or definitely learn how your deck works before queuing it up, try and watch some content. One of the cool things about Edison right now is that there is so much content. Well, I don't know if this is... Yeah, this is a cool thing. I think it's a cool thing. Back when, I guess 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when you were looking for Edison content, it was like, man, there's nothing. You know what I mean? There's no resources. There's no, there's nothing to watch. There's nothing crazy. And now, you can pretty much find a YouTuber who specializes in your favorite deck in this format, which is really cool. There's so much to learn, basically. And I think that taking some time and learning some stuff before queuing up is never a bad thing. And yeah, I think that also, you learn by playing. So I wonder if my opponent took anything away from this game. I wonder if he did. Maybe he did. Maybe he's even watching this video, and maybe he learned a bunch of stuff from just that first game. So it's possible. It's possible. The real final boss, though, however, is the Fairy Mirror, because obviously, the Fairy Mirror is a cursed mirror. I think it's one of the most frustrating mirrors to play in the game. I'm not a big fan of it. And we don't even start off with Christia in our deck, so obviously we're at a significant disadvantage. He trap dust shoots me, takes Gores. It means the last card is Legacy, but just got to do it. And yeah, Legacy's going to trade with the Breaker. I set 2, pass. He mind controls the Breaker. He summons Cyber Valley. I got a Solemn here. Bit of a missequencing on his part. He knows I have Solemn. What he should do is actually summon the Cyber Valley first. He just gets 2 for 1. He's forced to give me back my Breaker. He passes. We draw Alchemist. I activate. I miss. Go figure. He draws his own Breaker. I'm like, well, fuck me. He knows I have Honest, though, so I feel like he should have just crashed. Maybe he wanted to force the Honest now. I don't really know. I think that might be it. I draw a second Honest, which is nice. I banish the top card. I miss again. Classic. He goes Card Trooper. Warrior Lady. Attack over the Alchemist. I'm not going to Honest that. I'll take 300. I have Cyber Dragon. He knows I have Cyber Dragon, and he's summoned Card Trooper into it, so it means his back row is either Bottomless or Solemn or Torrential. It is Solemn. I summon Thunder King. I run over the Card Trooper. I can potentially win if he crashes and I drop Honest, so I can maybe steal a victory here because of that Solemn, but unfortunately for us, he has both Brain Control and Mind Control and a monster to summon, so we're just down. So yeah, that's it. That's how it goes. That's all she wrote. Game 2, I sided my fairies. And I side in all my other shit too. And I have Doom Calibers still in. I have the Chaos Sorcerer still in. So I have some hedge cards that also help me improve poking at his starters. I start off with DD Warrior Lady, sets 2. Just attack for 15. The reason you summon DD Warrior Lady is to get in under Bottomless, represent Honest. If he has Brain Control plus a conversion, I mean, that's very unlikely, but he could have it, We hit for 15. We have another Warrior Lady, and we have Gores in the worst case, so it's fine. He just passes. No reason not to just keep hitting. I'm going to set the call here because I'm cool if he gets popped. I could also M-phase discard, but I think setting call is fine because I just want to trade with the potential Typhoon. He Typhoons it, M-phase Legacy. There's really no reason to M-phase Legacy. You should wait for your draw step. It's just a misplay. Mind Control taking DD Warrior Lady. He's going to Synchro. So he does have the Brain Control conversion, but not until after he took 3,000, which is important. We're able to drop Gores, which is pretty nice. He sets a back row, passes a turn. We're able to attack his Goyo, use Honest. And he said immediately after he recognized he misplayed because he could have made Bionic, and then he would have had Christia plus call setup, which definitely is a mistake. So a couple of sequencing errors from the opponent this game, definitely costing him. Christia is so OP. It's kind of the reason to play this deck. Not having it in the main deck game 1 is a little bit silly, but, here we are. Here we are. Summons into Torrential, but kind of has to do it. And then on our turn, we have, not lethal because there's no dark in our grave, but we have Sanguine Attack, which is close to a guaranteed lethal, because if this ever dies, we get our second honest, and then second honest can be game. He draws D-Elk. He can't attack the Sangan. We have DD Warrior Lady. We attack. He's forced to honest. 2 for 1 himself. We're able to attack for 1,000. He passes. He has Breaker, but at this point, I can just crash Sangan, grab honest, attack directly with Shining Angel. Or not directly, but attack with honest over the Breaker. Going into game 3, different stuff to think about in this one. I think this is where most of the technical stuff comes in. We start off with Doomcal and DD Warrior Lady and D-Elk plus Herald. So he sets back row, he sets monster. Alright, whatever. What do I want to lead on here? That's something I've been thinking about a lot. I think what I should have led on was Doomcaliber Knight. I think that's the mistake I made here. But I don't really know. I think I should have led on Doomcaliber Knight. Why? Because there are certain things Doomcaliber Knight doesn't answer that DD Warrior Lady does. For example, resolved monsters, like resolved Christia. Like stuff like if he has Dimensional Alchemist plus Honest, it's much better for me to have DD Warrior Lady than Doomcaliber. So this is my mistake here. I think this is my game to throw, because I have a really good hand. I have Trag, I have Doomcal. I have like everything I need, right? I should have summoned the Doomcal here. Instead, I summoned the Warrior Lady, which I think is a mistake. Oh no, I know is a mistake. It's just a mistake for sure. I should have summoned the Doomcaliber for sure. The DD Warrior Lady is just a better card to have. If this guy gets banished, then D-Elk is live anyway. DD Warrior Lady will always get used in this matchup, so Doomcaliber, saving Doomcaliber, not the move. He summons Breaker, and this is immediately not a situation where I want to summon my Doomcaliber. But again, what I should have done was summon the Doomcaliber and attack. That's the mistake I made here as well. Instead, I just pass, which just tells him too much about my hand, and it's too passive, and it doesn't use one of my 3 normal summons, which I really should be using here. I draw Book of Moon. I decide to go for Shining Angel because I can swing into Deep Prison with Shining Angel and Book. I take the damage, a special Trag, and then I'm able to summon Honest from deck, bounce the Honest, and then pitch the Honest to steal the Breaker. I should have pitched the Doomcal at this point just to get Light Dark in the graveyard, but I was a little bit worried about him having a second Shining Angel here. That being said, he raw dogged Breaker, which means he definitely doesn't have a second Shining Angel. He would have summoned a second Shining Angel. So it's only playing around like a top deck Shining Angel, whereas it's just silly too, because like I've been holding this Doomcaliber Knight this whole game instead of like playing it and getting value out of it when I'm like playing around back row. But if he does have Shining Angel, I'm going to be forced to not play around that back row anyway. So it makes me look even more silly for holding this Doomcaliber Knight. I go for the pop, and then he has Legacy, so making this play look really silly. Wasting my card, basically, to steal a 1600 monster, which is pretty bad in this matchup. And then I don't set the Book, which punishes me because he has Brain Control. So I get a little greedy. I want a strong Trag, but there's really no reason for me to want a strong Trag here. I should just set the Book to defend my guy, basically. He pitches, steals the Breaker back. Attack, deals the maximum amount of damage. I don't want to herald my Trag because, like, what are the chances he has a conversion? 100%. Otherwise, he wouldn't Brain Control it. I definitely should have heralded here. If he has Christia, I kind of just fucking lose. So, yeah. I mean, granted, if he has Christia, I can book the Christia and then special the Chaos Sorcerer, attack into the Christia. But then I can't even banish the Christia, so... Or I would have to attack into it with another monster and then banish it with Chaos Sorcerer Main Haste too. And that plays into Herald, so... It's a really ugly situation. He has set 2, which basically confirms he has Solemn for my Chaos Sorcerer. And now I'm normal summon locked. I'm facing down a Cyber Dragon, which I can't get over with anything in my hand. I could try and Grand Mole bounce the Cyber Dragon, but if he has any removal spell, I'm just dead on board. So I have to go for Alchemist, try to clear the Breaker just to keep something in play. But that means my Herald is now dead. This whole game has fallen apart because I didn't use that Doomcaliber. And that's just like really poor sequencing on my part. I pass the turn. He's able to Heavy Storm. I chain Book. He chains Return. He has a game shot here, but we do have that Trag banished. So we can add back Trag to survive a turn. He goes for 14. We're able to drop Trag. He attacks the Trag. And he's going to lose one of his Shining Angels, but I have to deal with both of these. Basically, I just have to hope he doesn't attack my set with Cyber Dragon. So I'm going to set Doomcal, pass. He attacks with the Angel. He takes 400. runs over the Doom Cal. So that Doom Caliber, I could have gotten a ton of value out of, at least a 1-for-1 into back row out of early game. Ends up just being a -1 in the late game because I held it too long. I think you want to use Doom Caliber early. I think you want to use Doom Caliber as soon as possible. And I don't think you want to wait on this card because it doesn't deal with resolve stuff at all, basically. You got to use it as a way to trade with openers. And this is my player error here. Definitely costing me this game. I draw Warrior Lady, which can maybe potentially stabilize for me, but he has that honest off the top to guarantee the games. So GG's to Code. He is able to take this one over me, which turns out the real final boss is yourself at the end of the day. You got to use the Doom Cals on the starters. Something to think about. Food for thought. I think this card is very powerful. Overall, the way I see this list is it's cool to have a smokescreen. It's cool to have it's cool to have like a new strategy and think about things from a different angle, even if it does come from like a deck building error. But I think moving forward, I probably won't play a list like this just because I feel like it's a little bit underpowered game one, and then you lose a lot of percentage points versus frogs. Cool stuff though. Maybe there's something you could do with this. Maybe you could have a stun deck like side into quick draw or something like that. Maybe there's something to be looked at here. There's an angle to approach that isn't so bad because I feel like stun is weak to frogs, right? But quick draw isn't weak to frogs, and they do have a lot of cards that are kind of similar. You have Gores, you have Kayas, you have Sangin. You can maybe rework this little guy here, this deck to look more like a quick draw deck, and then instead of maybe the Warrior Ladies and the Alchemists, you have like, I don't know, Raiko, Hamster Kaya, something like that. And then game two, you just side into your quick draw Debris Dandelion stuff, and you mix people up. They're not going to side in DDV versus stun, so you have a really solid quick draw game plan game two, and that deck is very good versus frogs. So maybe there's something here. Maybe there's a sideboarding thing, starting with the crazy stun deck and then moving into more of a synchro combo deck. Food for thought. Food for thought. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.